Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Astrology Now with astrologer Babula Clement and myself. So, hi, Babula. How are you doing?
Hi, Cheryl. Pretty good, all things considered in the world.
You have to say that these days, don't you?
I know.
Looking around at what's going on, you think, did I really come to the right planet?
Exactly. Put the words right in my mouth, and I'm thinking, what was I thinking?
Exactly. But anyway, so this time we're going to be talking about, it's the full moon in Virgo. So, which is coming up on Friday, the 18th of March.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
So
exactly.
Would you like to kick off with that? And then I'm sure you're going to let us know all the other planets
because
you're washing over us.
I know, my God, because March is a big month. I mean, again, I feel like I repeat this every time. We seem to be having endlessly big months and big lunar cycles and so on.
Should I say that it's like a tidal wave of planetary energy?
It is a tidal wave, just an absolute tidal wave. And it's very literal. You know, this full moon on Friday, it's in Virgo, but of course it's opposite the sun in Pisces. So we're definitely in the Pisces lunar cycle because 2 weeks earlier was the Pisces new moon.
Yeah. So you know what happens when you put water with earth, don't you?
A lot of mud. You get a lot of mud.
We've seen a lot of it too, haven't we?
Oh my God. And I was just seeing another series of photos from a friend down in the northern New South Wales area. Just, you know, as people are sort of really getting up into the hills there and seeing what's happened to people's houses, sliding down hills into ravines. And
amazing.
It's, people are calling it, they're using language like it's like a war zone. Extraordinary event. So yes, that new moon was on the 3rd of March, and we spoke about it last time, but just to recap, because I think it's really relevant, it was a new moon in Pisces with a very close conjunction to Jupiter. And Jupiter, of course, is the planet that brings tremendous expansion, increase, almost to the extreme extent. It's no limits. Jupiter, ruler of Sagittarius and Pisces, knows no limits. And Pisces is a sign that's completely unbounded. So it felt like, you know, we all lived through it. It felt like limitless rain. It just seemed to never stop, and it bucketed. So we know that, and we spoke about it last time. So now we're at the halfway point of this cycle, and so the sun is still in the sign of Pisces. Mercury is in Pisces. Jupiter is in Pisces. The sun's got a couple of days to go. We'll talk about that, and Neptune, of course, is still in Pisces. So Neptune's been playing out with this as well. So this full moon in the evening of Friday, March the 18th, will be the sun at 27 of Virgo, the moon at 27 of Virgo, opposite the sun at 27 Pisces. So we're coming to the end of the sun in Pisces, but we're forming this full moon. So I love talking about signs that are polar opposites to each other. You know, so what happens from the new moon point in Pisces, when the sun and moon are in Pisces, when the moon continues, it pulls away from the sun and comes to the halfway point in the opposite sign. So opposite signs are signs that are meant to really balance each other out, you know, to create this sense of balance and polarity. You know, so Virgo is earth, and as you said, you know, you mix earth and water, you get a lot of mud. And everywhere you go now, like even around Brisbane, you can see mud still on the ground. You know, it's drying out, but there's mud.
Yep. Covering cars that are still in the streets in some places.
Exactly. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So Virgo is earth, and it's a sign that's all to do with the specifics and the details and the particulars. And Pisces is unbounded and where everything merges into one. But Pisces, it's like Pisces, you could use the analogy of it's the ocean. You know, every raindrop has merged into the ocean. You can't find the raindrop anymore, but it's become part of the ocean. Virgo is more like the individual specific raindrop.
Yes.
And then you put the raindrop under a microscope and you look at what's going on inside the raindrop. That's the sort of polarity, just to use one analogy. So Virgo and Pisces, that axis got a lot to do with health and healing. Virgo is very much, as an earth sign, is to do with the body and diet, food, clean living. Virgo likes things to be clean, precise, ordered.
Yes.
And it's actually the primary sign that's all about health and healing and medicine. And because it's an earth sign, it's the medicine that comes from the earth. And many of us know and understand that all of the healing we ever actually really need comes from the earth. It comes from Gaia, from the mother.
That's right.
But it has to be supported by clean, natural, healthy living, which is what Virgo is all about. So Virgo and Pisces have got a lot to do with a kind of purification from the earth, and diet and herbs and fresh food and pure water. So our water is very toxified.
Yes.
I read something the other day about someone who'd been really examining what's in town water supplies. And it's not just fluoride and chlorine. There is a multitude, there's a chemical cocktail.
Yes.
From all the runoff from rivers, which are full of all kinds of pesticides and fertilizers and things that are put into the water. So there's all these themes, around Pisces water, Virgo earth, and how they're both about cleansing and purification. It's like emotional, spiritual, psychic. Virgo is physical, practical, the body, the earth,
Yeah. Can I just ask, with Virgo, relating to health and healing, how does it also relate, or does Chiron relate to that in any way? Because it's about the healer, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I remember when Chiron was first discovered in 1977, and a couple of astrologers really dived into that to really start to work with it, and understand the mythology and how it might work in a chart and so on. And there was a lot of conjecture for ages, and there still is, I think. If Chiron rules a sign, what sign does it rule? And still, does it rule Sagittarius because Chiron's a centaur, or does it rule Virgo because it's about health and healing? So I don't really have a clear answer to that. I tend to feel Chiron is just himself and may not actually specifically govern a sign,
Okay. So the jury's still out, basically.
Jury's still out. I think he's a bit of a maverick in a way, and is doing his own thing. But so Virgo, I think, when the moon's in Virgo, and because the full moon's at late Virgo, the moon will be in Virgo that entire day and the day before. So when she's coming to fullness in Virgo, it's a great time to be looking at what needs to be cleansed and purified, a great time to really pay attention to our health. When we go through this Pisces time of year, people often get very tired. They feel vulnerable. I know people in the Northern Rivers who are just exhausted physically and emotionally, psychically, mentally. They're exhausted. And what happens, we often get more tired during the Pisces month.
Yeah. And just to point out to people who are watching that, who don't know that area, it was to do where they had very bad flooding.
Yeah, extreme. Flooding. And like the whole town of Lismore has been, some are saying, will it recover? It was that bad. And it's quite a big town. Anyway, so people often find that their immune system is low during this time of year. We need more rest. We need to take care to not overload ourselves. We become more vulnerable emotionally, physically, and so on. So while this full moon is happening, I think it's a really good time for us to be really paying close attention to what we're doing with our food. Take extra really good quality supplements, lots of good herbs, whatever we might normally do. I'm feeling it, and I'm definitely doing that. I'm really making sure I'm taking plenty of the good stuff and just not eating much. I don't eat crap anyway, but just making a bit of taking a bit of extra care around that.
So isn't it a time where Virgos could be a little bit more susceptible to some illness?
Possibly. And yeah, and I think because the full moon, as we know, heightens everything. Everything is kind of blown up in a way.
Yeah.
And Virgo specifically governs the digestive system. And that's why a lot of Virgos often have digestive issues, and they become very particular about what they eat because it, like Pisces, these two signs are very sensitive and very attuned to subtlety.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, some people say they're fussy, but it's got a lot to do with the sensitivity of the body and their physical world around them. So this is a great time to be decluttering, to be just getting very fine-tuned about what we need and how to take good care of ourselves. And as we know, with people we know in the post-flood, that's not always an easy thing to do, whatever, as mothers of young children, it's easy to say that, but, whatever way we can to just try and take a bit of extra care of ourselves.
It's also a sign that's very painstaking and exacting, which you were alluding to before, isn't it? So you might have a friend who's a Virgo, and obviously we're talking about people who with just the Virgo energy, because as you remind us, there's other things going on in someone's chart, but it can take a long time to tell you a story full of detail.
Exactly.
Little thing.
Exactly. Because that's important. All the details are important to them.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. But yes, that's right.
I'm sure people who are watching this have a friend who is like that.
That's right. So you get every detail. And when they're doing a task, or it's like they're very, very specific, very detailed, very precise, which is fantastic in certain situations. That's brilliant. That's what you need.
Yeah.
But yes.
So it's good if you're an accountant, or if you're a policeman, or a doctor, or a dentist.
That's right.
You have to pay attention to detail.
And a herbalist, you really. So Virgos are amazing at working with a client or a patient if they're Virgo, and they're really paying attention to every little nuance, to try and prescribe exactly the right supplements or herbs or dietary advice. They're picking up on every little piece of information, very precise in that way. And so, as I said, in some situations, that's exactly what you want.
Absolutely. And I'm just thinking while you're saying that, like for me as a hypnotherapist, I'm listening to my clients and I'm listening to exactly what you said, every little nuance. The words that they particularly choose when they're describing something, telling me something, all those sorts of things, how they articulate things. So that I guess I'm kicking into that Virgo energy while doing that.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I was really paying attention. And as I said, there's a lot of sensitivity here that people often miss about Virgo. So that Virgo Pisces axis is really sensitive. The other thing about this full moon is that Neptune is involved, because as we're doing this, a few days before the full moon, over these few days, Neptune and the Sun are very, very close together. Like on the weekend, that was an exact conjunction. And so our emotions and feelings can be very heightened, like really people feeling very, very vulnerable, super sensitive. Bursting into tears, or old stuff coming up. And so the moon in Virgo is opposite the Sun and Neptune. So the Neptune Pisces energy is very, very pronounced. Like more this year, the Pisces month, is so Piscean because it's so exaggerated because of the presence of Jupiter here. So Virgo is a very practical sign, as are all the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. So it can be as literal as get some cleaning done. You know, as so many Virgos know, they actually feel better after they've cleaned a space or sorted out a cupboard. Like, it feels good. And even for people who aren't Virgos, it feels good when you actually clean up your kitchen, or, you know, put all your clothes away, or get that washing done, or clean out that cupboard you've been meaning to for ages.
Yep.
They're all good. It can also be a kind of a spiritual practice in that, you know, we're overcoming our natural inertia and putting things off, bring ourselves back into the moment and just get on with the task. It's very task-oriented, Virgo. So it can be very basic, practical stuff.
Yeah, quite work-oriented.
Yeah, that's right.
They're also careful too, aren't they, do you think?
Careful?
Are they? Or cool?
Well, I think they can be. They're it's not a sort of a clumsy sign or a gross. You wouldn't use the word gross with Virgo at all. Yeah, so I think it can be a really, really helpful thing just to use some of that energy. But, you know, on the full moon, I think it's also good to just go out and experience the full moon in the night. Like, literally, to go out and be under the full moon. And in Virgo, you know, Virgo is garden, it's the ground, it's the earth. If we can get out in nature in some way, I think we're all needing a lot of that these days, a lot of connection with the earth and nature.
Yes, actually, just on that point, the park down the road from me, which goes onto the river, it was very flooded, like about 20 meters up the Brisbane River rose. And when it left, when the water went down, and I was walking along the road looking at the park, and I was looking at the devastation, and I quickly realized that although the water was gone, I still felt very distressed, because what I was seeing with the trees like being knocked over all along the river's edge, and the great big tree roots had been gouged out of the soil. And I was realizing how very connected we are naturally to the earth. You know, even though nothing was going on, I felt distressed by seeing this.
Yes.
You know, and I think we tend to forget how earthbound we really are, because sometimes we're walking around with our head in the clouds.
Yeah.
You know, and we forget that we're actually here in the physical world, and we are very connected to our physical world, to the earth, to the planet.
One of the things that people might be experiencing during this full moon, where everything is heightened, remember it's part of the Pisces lunar cycle, is just a sense of absolute overwhelm. You know, overwhelm with the emotion of it all, and the overwhelm of how much there is to do, and reports that I see, and, you know, watch videos of people who are down there helping and what they're reporting on a daily basis, just the enormity of the task in front of them to clean this up and restore people's lives. It's massive. So that is overwhelming.
Yes. Yeah.
And even if we're not there and a part of it, you know, we're all connected, like you're saying, we're all connected. And in Pisces, we are all absolutely connected. And so we're all feeling it, you know, we're all feeling this.
And I said this to someone the other day, that even though it's been devastating for people to go through those floods, there's been quite a bit of healing going on, because we've had such this extended time of divisiveness in society, you know, and people have just come together, and those things have just dropped. Maybe not from a government perspective, but from the people on the street with the boots on the ground, to just get in there and they help each other out.
That's right. And I sometimes say about Virgo, it's like Pisces can be the monk meditating, which is a wonderful thing, just as another analogy. But in Virgo, we roll up our sleeves and pick up a broom and just get on with the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those two together can be, you know, you can infuse that task with a spiritual compassion and a need to be of service. And that's an excellent word for Virgo, Pisces. These two signs have got a great deal to do with service. You know, Pisces is more being of spiritual service in whatever that means, through compassion and love and offering prayers and things like that, and meditating. But Virgo literally rolls up its sleeves.
Yes.
You know, and just gets on with the job. So, but both together, they can operate and function together beautifully. You know, people just bringing food and bringing clothes and washing people's clothes for them, and, you know, all those things, the million and one things. But yeah. But yeah, it's been a massive lunar cycle, and will continue to be so. I mean, you know, Jupiter on the sun during the floods, just on a hell of a lot of water.
Yes.
You know, just huge amount of water. So, so that's on the 18th. So let's move on through the other things coming up through the rest of March. On the 19th, Venus, who's now in Aquarius, still traveling very closely with Mars. Venus moves faster, so she's slowly starting to move away from Mars and move on ahead, but they're still very close together in that conjunction. Venus will make an exact square to Uranus. So we're all through 21 and 22, there are these repeated themes of the squares between the sign of Aquarius and Taurus. Uranus is in Taurus, and when planets, Saturn included, but faster moving planets come through Aquarius, they make these squares to Uranus as well. And so things keep being tumultuous, unpredictable, unstable, disruptive, chaotic. You know, the revolutionary impulse of, you know, status quo and the revolutionary impulse pushing up against it. They're both pushing up hard against each other. You know, these themes just continue to play out. Then on the 21st of March, which is Monday, the sun leaves the sign of Pisces. And I think for many that will feel like a big, a kind of a relief in a way. I mean, simply because the Pisces energy has been so strong and so big and so overwhelming and so exhausting.
Yes.
And emotionally just massive. And so every year when the sun leaves Pisces and goes into Aries and is at 0 degrees and 0 minutes of Aries, that's a very important point every year. And it's usually around the 20th, 21st, somewhere around that date. So it's on the 21st, and it's called the vernal point or the Aries point. It's also, of course, in the Southern Hemisphere. It marks the exact time of the autumn equinox. So in terms of seasonal cycles, that's not necessarily culturally, but in seasonal cycles, this is the beginning of autumn.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and for astrologers, when the sun enters Aries, isn't it, 0 degrees of Aries, that's actually New Year. Yeah. That is the beginning of the new astrological celestial year. And so Pisces is the last sign, is all about the release and the emptying out and the completion of this yearly cycle we've been in. It's coming to an end, and that's what Pisces does. It releases, it empties out. There's often a lot of loss, grief, of letting go. The letting go can be beautiful too. You know, like I actually heard someone say online something like, I've been cleaning out and decluttering, but I didn't think it was going to be quite this extreme. You know, everything was taken in the flood. You know, it was kind of said a bit tongue-in-cheek and humorously, but you know, like sometimes everything gets taken away.
Yes.
And then in Aries, seeds of something new get born, and there's a new energy that comes in. And if we, in normal times, I often recommend to people is in the Pisces month, just don't plan too much, don't schedule too much, rest, let go, just go with the flow. Because when Aries energy kicks in, we're ready to move again. Yeah. You know, so theoretically, if we've rested, taken time out, gone on a holiday, we were just saying neither of us have been on a holiday for a while, you know, do those things, then we're kind of more ready to move forward. And I've learned over the years to kind of just not over organize myself in the Pisces month, try and keep a lot of space to be fluid and go with the flow of what's happening. Because once Aries energy comes in, which it does on the 21st, then we can begin to move and have a more of a sense of, right, I'm doing this.
Yes.
And we go.
Yeah.
It's like someone turned the green light, switched the green light on.
Yes.
So it's good. And that date, like the chart for when the sun is at 0 degrees and 0 minutes of Aries, actually is sort of imprints the energy of the 12 months ahead for this particular solar cycle coming in, the birthing of this new cycle. It's like the world's birthday in a way, and it's sort of marking the energetic themes, and it has that Aries energy. Yeah. So that will feel like a relief for many.
Well, with sun in Aries, I mean, it can be it's like lighting a match.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can do that in all sorts of ways for all sorts of reasons. I mean, you can turn on the light or you can burn a house down. And with everything that's going on in the world, I think, wow, if that's the energy of the year, what's going to happen?
Well, that's right, because, on a simple level, Aries is a fire sign. So many people do ceremony at these 4 power points of the year, the 2 equinoxes and the solstices. Traditional cultures have always done ceremony, major ceremony at these points. They're important, powerful moments. And it is good to mark them. I would really, I'm just trying to find where I printed it out, if I can lay my hands on it easily. Probably not, but I'll try, of the exact time of day. No, it's not in front of me. When the sun's at 0 degrees of Aries, I think it's in the afternoon in the east coast of Australia. But even that day or the next day, to do maybe light a candle, set up a little altar, do something to mark that equinox point and the vernal point when the sun goes into the sign of Aries. So yes, fire. Aries, of course, is also, apart from being the sign of new beginnings and the birth of the new and a revitalization and an injection of energy, which is great. We can all do with some of that about now. It's also the sign of, aggression and conflict and fight. So it can light a match under some very volatile energies playing out in the planet, like it can be a bit hair trigger and very reactive.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we will see.
We will see.
Because this time next year we'll be going, the energy of last year was.
That's right.
This is a great thing about astrology. I mean, you can say all these things but you don't really know how it's going to play out exactly.
No, we don't know the precise details at all.
No, but once it's played out, you can go, there
it is. That makes
the markers,
That's because, with anything we're talking about, just talking about the sun going into Aries, there's many different things you can say about it. It's not just one thing.
That's right.
And in people's lives, it can, during the month of Aries, that energy can show up in all kinds of different ways, let alone, for all the people on the planet and what's going on in the world. It will manifest in a number of different ways because every sign and planet isn't just one thing.
Yeah.
And everything is so multidimensional anyway.
Wouldn't it be simpler if it all was one thing? I think I just make it easy.
So simple and straightforward.
And boring, I suppose.
Yes. We seem to thrive on complexity, or sometimes we don't, but generally we seem to. I was also just going to comment, I think, because Aries is courageous. It's brave. It's a brave sign. Yeah. It's very bold, very courageous. It thrives on taking risks and diving into the new and the unknown and just goes right, or it might be, I've put up with this and I've put up with this and I'm not putting up with it anymore. And we make a decision. We take action.
Yes.
We make something happen. And while we're in Pisces, it's like, we just can't quite get there.
Yeah.
you know, and suddenly, I mean, I remember years ago when my progressed moon came out of Pisces, where it had been for 2.5 years, and the day it moved into Aries, and I'd forgotten it was happening that day, suddenly I just felt this whole new rush of energy, and I just went, right, you know, I've got to get on with this. And I started doing and later it was like the next day I had to laugh because my progressed moon had literally just gone into Aries.
Oh, wow.
So we are experiencing these things, whether we know it consciously or not.
Yes. Mm.
We are all experiencing these things. So on the 21st, with the sun going into Aries, also there's a conjunction of Mercury and Jupiter in Pisces. So there's still a lot of Pisces energy around with us, very much so. And that can be Mercury's our thinking. It's interesting, while Mercury's still going through Pisces, you know, our brain, our minds can be a bit foggy, fuzzy, confused, but also spiritually, artistically, musically, very inspired and very on. Like that part of it's much more right brain, Mercury in Pisces. It operates in that imaginal realm, mystical realm. It's not linear, logical, rational, you know, it's intuition and feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can also be emotional. We might find ourselves having some quite emotional conversations, or conversations that need to happen, you know, that might sort of clear the air emotionally, perhaps. Okay, 23rd of March. So on the 19th, Venus in Aquarius squared Uranus. On the 23rd, Mars coming in behind Venus in Aquarius will make the square to Uranus. That is a majorly volatile contact between two very dynamic planets, and they're in a square in fixed signs. So, you know, Mars, the warrior planet of action, assertion, decision-making, squares Uranus, that powerful revolutionary impulse for change and shocks and surprises and, you know, radical things that can happen out of the blue. It's a kind of classic earthquake energy. It will often manifest as actual earthquakes. There's likely to be very heightened earthquake activity. But, you know, earthquake is also a wonderful metaphor that we can experience earthquakes going off in our own life.
Yes. Soul quakes.
Soul quakes. Shocks, surprises. But, you know, it can be quite turbulent. And because Uranus is in Taurus, part of that, and Venus. So that week or so, Venus and Mars both making these squares to Uranus through that whole week. Venus is a money planet. Taurus is a money sign. We're already seeing it. If we're paying attention to some of the signs that are going on around the world, you know, of Big Brother, for want of a better term, having the controls technologically over people's finances and bank accounts, this is real. We've been seeing the signs of this coming for years.
Yes.
But it's actually beginning to happen.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
And it's becoming very evident that they do have the power to do this, and they are acting. I say they are acting on it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we're going to see more of that coming. So that's quite a strong, and this is all part of the second half of March, and these are strong energies. Those squares to Uranus. Yeah.
I'm just thinking with that Mars square Uranus, I mean, we have to remember that Uranus is like it's up in space too. You know? So keep an eye on missions in space.
Exactly.
Or things happening to them, or
The phrase Star Wars comes to mind.
Yes.
Square Uranus.
Sometimes you just don't want to say these things, but hey,
I know.
maybe we should.
I know. Yeah, all kinds of things going on in the realms of technology, you know, and technological. Yeah, I'm sitting here going, will I use the word? Yes, I will. Warfare.
Yeah.
You know, yes.
Missiles.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. But even in our own personal lives, this is happening at 12 degrees, Mars at 12 of Aquarius, square Uranus at 12 of Taurus. So on a personal level, if we have anything in our chart around that degree of the fixed signs of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, that's going to get triggered and activated. And for some, this could be a moment when they make a bid for personal freedom in whatever circumstance they're in. Might be a job that they just cannot take one more day and they go, that's it, I'm out of there. Or a relationship or a certain circumstance in their life. It is the kind of combination where people just go, I'm done. And it happens like that. But it's been building up. And suddenly there's a moment, that moment of clarity.
It breaks.
And it breaks. That's it. It breaks.
Yeah. The rubber band snaps.
Exactly. It's only so much tension because this is an aspect of tension, especially in the fixed signs. There's only so much it can take or a situation can take.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Then on the 24th, Mercury, having moved on past the conjunction with Jupiter, makes conjunction with Neptune in Pisces. So during the second half of the month, Mercury, our mind, our thinking, communications, meeting with Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. So again, mental overwhelm, mental tiredness, needing to rest our brain. I'm noticing I'm just wanting to watch more inconsequential, non-important stuff, like nice movies. Getting into a series that I've watched before because I enjoyed it so much, I'm watching it again.
Yes, I've done that too just recently.
A couple of episodes a night because I just want to zone out. We need a break sometimes.
Yeah, we need to escape. It's escapism, isn't it? That
it is
energy.
That's right. And it's perfectly reasonable, we need a break from all of the stuff.
Our mind needs a break. We've got to look after our mental health.
That's right. Of course, meditation is a really important way to do this as well. But on the human level, sometimes we just want to lie on the couch and watch a nice movie.
Right. Yeah.
Perfectly reasonable thing to do. But yeah, so we might be feeling a bit foggy and confused, for a while around those days. Then on the 27th of March, Mercury goes into Aries.
Okay.
So the Sun and Mercury are going to come out of Pisces, these fast-moving planets, and go into Aries. So again, the mind, thinking, communication, ideas are suddenly going to be ignited, right? And we might literally suddenly feel like, oh, suddenly my mind's cleared and I can see what I need to do. And we make that phone call, we book those appointments, we schedule a program that we've been kind of thinking about and not really clear about. Suddenly it's clear and we take action on it. Mercury in Aries.
Can we just go back to that Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces the day before? When is it?
On the 23rd.
Yeah, 23rd. I'm just thinking that that's like the way information comes to us then. It's not direct, is it? It just comes to us in a way, we may just know stuff.
That's right.
That sort of thing, So it's not like we're getting, someone's telling us something that's come directly to us. It's not like that at all. We just sense and feel, or information just comes to us. Our intuition kicks in, we just get it.
And our perception is heightened.
Yep.
That's right. And we feel it, we see it, we just know. It's just a knowing, isn't it? And you can't explain logically how you know.
Yeah.
That's right. That's very Neptune, Mercury conjunction in Pisces. And any of you watching this who have Mercury in Pisces, you'll relate to that generally. That's a very familiar state to you. It's just a knowing, and you feel it and you see it and you perceive it, and it's just there.
I'm just thinking too, with Mercury ruling Gemini, I'm thinking about media, and I'm thinking about information coming to us, like filtering, like just weaving its way through to the public, not actually coming out and saying things, but talking around points and inferences and things like that,
Exactly. And if you know what to look for, you can kind of spot the signs and the clues and the references. You go, okay.
Yes, white men speak.
I can see what's happening here. Exactly. Because, you know, one of the more negative expressions of Neptune and Mercury here can be deception, lies, manipulation, hypnotism, putting people under spells, you know, literally being, you know, if you watch someone sitting in front of a screen and they're absorbed, you know, you can go, and they're just like, you know, it's that kind of space sometimes. Sometimes we want to just sit out in the garden and just stare into space. I do sometimes. I don't want to think, I just want to stare into space. I used to do that a lot as a child.
Makes you wonder where we go when we just zone out, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Where do we go?
Zone. It's restful to just zone out. So yeah, Mercury will go into Aries. So we can see in the coming 2 weeks there will be a change of energy with the Sun and Mercury moving into Aries. 29th of March, very interesting conjunction of Venus, now at 21 degrees of Aquarius, will make a conjunction with Saturn. And what's even more interesting about that is that the asteroid Juno will be at the same degree. So it's going to be Juno, Venus, and Saturn, all at 21 of Aquarius. Now, Venus, one of her major qualities, if you like, is that she's a relationship planet. She rules Libra. Juno is a primary major relationship asteroid. So, you know, when Venus meets Saturn, this can be issues around commitment in relationship, either choosing to end something, like the time has come, but this is now done. Or it can be renewing and deepening a commitment. And it might be a personal relationship. In Aquarius, it could be to a community, to a group. It might be wanting to create or commit to some kind of new, like, tribe or community or group of people, or coming to terms with a difficult issue around a group of people, and you just go, I don't think I can do this anymore with this group of people, you know, whatever this might be, or certain friendships and so on. It's, you know, Saturn always helps us to get really clear about certain things and make sometimes some quite tough sort of decisions and choices. Yeah, so that's an interesting one to watch. So it'll be interesting. And as these things play out, I pay attention to what's going on in my own universe, of course, and in my own personal world, but also in the bigger arena, because you can actually see, go, that's exactly what that is. You know, that's an exact expression of that. Okay. 1st of April, on April Fool's Day, the new moon at 11 degrees of Aries. Now, just as the previous new moon was at 12 degrees of Pisces with a strong close conjunction to Jupiter, this new moon at 11 degrees of Aries has a very close conjunction with Chiron. So it's a very different energy altogether. It's a completely different vibe. So that lunar cycle will have a very different feel. It's fire, Aries, the birth of new beginnings. Chiron, of course, is a healer, the wounded healer archetype. And I think we'll talk a lot more about that next time. I've always been very interested in Chiron and like to work with Chiron a lot. And it's been in Aries for a few years now. It's making quite a slow journey through the sign of Aries. And so collectively, there's a lot we can say about that, because this next lunar cycle will have a lot to do with Chiron.
Okay. Well, I look forward to that.
Yeah, so that's going to be a very interesting one.
Okay, I'm going to do a bit of research on it, because I'm very interested in Chiron as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a wonderful story. You know, the mythology, the story of Chiron is very rich, and there's many different parts to the story, and it's very much about all the ways that we feel wounded as human beings, you know, in this human experience,
Yeah.
and how it can manifest in different ways. And it's interesting how that wound can show up in the different signs. And so in Aries, it's very up for us all collectively now during this 9-year period, you know, this wounding around the Aries principle, and what that might look like in its different manifestations. And it's
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful. Well, that's a lot to chew on too, isn't it? Again.
Yeah. So there's still a lot of the just sort of to round that off. During this period, there's a lot of planets, a lot going on in Pisces. There's also still a lot going on in Aquarius, you know, with Saturn and Venus and Mars in Aquarius. And so those are the last two signs of the zodiac. You know, the zodiac starts at Aries. It closes with Aquarius and then Pisces. And those two signs represent, yes, we do experience them personally, of course, but they do represent more the collective, what is going on in the collective field. Aquarius, you know, with humanity and people and community and the big picture, and Pisces is the even bigger picture.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's really big picture stuff. And, you know, if we're trying to only look at the little tiny focus of my little life and what it means to me, and I'm not interested in anything else if it doesn't affect me personally, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be very helpful. You know, we have to take into account the bigger pictures of what's going on and start to expand our vision a bit.
Yeah, if we can get a clear picture, that's the other thing.
That's right.
Sometimes it's so big, you just can't take it all in.
That's right. That's right.
Well, we'll talk more about that next time.
Yes, we shall.
So thank you very much for all your insight and wisdom and all your knowledge about all of those things. It's just,
you're so welcome.
It's such a lifelong study, isn't it?
It is, and never dull. That's why astrologers just tend to stay astrologers, because it's never dull.
Yes, yeah.
That's right.
Right. Oh, thank you so much. And for everyone who's listening or watching, if you enjoyed this episode, please like it and leave us a comment. We love the comments. We've been getting a few comments and we really love to have those. And remember to subscribe if you want to, and tap the bell, because that way you'll get all the notices of when we upload an episode. So until next time. Bye,
Cheryl. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye for now.